This is a story inspired by the Alabaster Vase Girl from Luke chapter 7, verses 36 to 50. I am the lady with the alabaster vial of perfume, and this is my story. In fact, I knew Jesus before the alabaster vial incident because I live in Nain, only a few miles from Nazareth, so we knew his whole family. Joseph would often come to Nain to do jobs of carpentry, and Jesus would come with him, and when Joseph died, Jesus would come by himself. You see, the widow of Nain is my mother, and I am the older sister of the young man Jesus raised from the dead, the talkative one, if you remember. When Dad died, we all went to pieces. My brother was always a delicate child, and Dad's death only made things worse for him. We had no income, and he was always needing medicines and doctor's fees, and so we soon used up all our savings. I was 13, and a very pretty girl by all accounts, and to begin with, it all seemed so innocent. There was this man, you see, and he knew we needed money, and he said he would pay me if I did certain things for him. At first, the certain things were okay, and we needed the money, and I just told Mum that I was helping out around his house. Anyway, the certain things became more and more intimate and private, and we still needed the money, and it seemed there was no turning back, and no telling anyone else because it was, well, all too shameful. After a while, he introduced me to other men who would also pay, and we still needed the money, and so it went on until my mum found out what I was doing. That was really awful. She disowned me and threw me out of the house. But by that time, I'd plenty of places I could stay if I needed to, and she still needed the money, which I sent to her anonymously. I think she knew who was sending it, but she pretended to herself that she didn't. And anyway, what was she going to do? Just let my brother die? And then, a few days ago, my brother did die, and our world came to an end. If there was a God, I hated him. I had sacrificed myself, my family, my reputation to help him live, and now he was dead. All for nothing. My mum had lost not only her husband, and then her daughter, but also her son, and no wonder she was crying during the funeral procession. And that is when Jesus came back into our lives. He just turned up with a crowd of disciples, sees my mum crying her eyes out in the funeral procession, and he grabs my dead brother by the hand and tells him to get up. And he does. And he hasn't stopped talking since, which is just like him. And what is wonderful, he has not been sick once since. He has been completely healed. And he's got himself a well-paid job. He's always been good with books and writing, but has never been well enough to get a job. So, I hear that Jesus has been invited to Simon's house for one of these seminar-type meals where they eat and talk, and folk are allowed to go and listen to the conversation and sometimes participate. I just wanted to go and be near him and perhaps have a chance to say thank you. Anyway, here I am trying to keep discreet and hidden at the back of people there. But as people come and go, I find I'm closer and closer to Jesus. And I begin to think how much my life has changed since Jesus gave my brother back to us. My brother is well and working, so I don't need to work like that anymore. I still have a bad reputation, and I don't expect any man will want to marry me. But at least I'm free from that old life, and maybe one day Mum will forgive me, and I'll be able to go home. Anyway, as I was thinking of all these things, and not listening to what was going on, I just quietly began to cry. I was just so thankful and grateful that my life had changed so much because of what Jesus had done for us. I just cried more and more, and it felt like a great river of relief and wonder. And then I realized that all those tears were falling on Jesus' feet, and he was looking at me, and so was everybody else. But somehow it was just me and Jesus, and his feet were getting wet with my tears, and he was smiling, and I was crying more and more, and thinking, must dry his feet. How embarrassing. So without thinking, I knelt down and let my hair down and began to dry his feet. Now, you've probably never knelt over someone's bare feet after they've been tramping the dusty streets in sandals. Well, don't expect them to be smelling too good. Anyway, I had a small alabaster vial of perfume hanging around my neck. A lot of women wore them in those days, so I broke it open and poured it onto his feet. The rest, as they say, is history.